the system that just ain't right. Gonna tear it down, gonna start a fight. Anarchy and numbers is my game. I'm the investor with no shame. Greed and corruption, that's the name of the game they play. It's all a shame. I won't play by their rules, I won't comply. Anarchy's the way. It's time to fly. I'll burn down the walls and break the chains, shatter the illusion.
And here we go. Welcome. I am Matt. This is the Anarchist Investor live, coming at you every Monday through Friday at 12 Eastern, talking about contrarian investment markets, the economy, how to protect and grow your wealth without it getting stolen by some dirty banksters. On the hold screen, I had Ethereum. Ethereum was the big news yesterday. News story hit after I had done the live yesterday. So obviously, I didn't get a chance to talk about it until today. And in fact, last night, I was very much so glued to doing my first ever live premiere of a recorded interview. If you didn't catch that, head on over to any of the video platforms or on X. It's on all of those. I interviewed Patrick Smith. It's actually part one of a two-part interview. And we talk about Roger Ver, talk about crypto, state of the crypto market, decentralization. We slay some sacred cows, all kinds of stuff. It was a fantastic interview. If you haven't watched it, definitely head on over to any of the video platforms. It was also released on any of your favorite podcatchers if you follow the Anarchist Investor there. And so I wasn't paying too much attention to Ethereum when the news broke, but the news was essentially that all of a sudden the SEC has had a change of heart, kind of like what happened with Bitcoin. The Bitcoin ETF, it was like, maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't happen. Now, all of a sudden, the Ethereum ETF looks like it is more and more likely every day that it's going to get approved. And of course, it's going to get approved. They're trying to tell you, oh, it's this political shift. And all of a sudden, a couple of senators broke rank. And now they're all pro crypto and all this other stuff. Look, at the end of the day, regardless of whether or not you're a conspiracy theorist or what, there is one immutable truth. If there is money to be made in a marketplace, Wall Street wants to be in that marketplace. And so crypto is no different. And typically when Wall Street enters into a marketplace where they want to make money because other people are doing well, they typically turn it into just a dumpster fire. I can't say anything other than that. They typically manipulate it and contort it and turn it into a Frankenstein's monster. And it's probably, and again, this is more conspiratorial, it is probably in conjunction with other interests, right? Those other interests being the security state and, Central Intelligence Agency and the SEC and all kinds of other three-letter alphabet organizations out there that have something to gain by being more present, if not omnipresent, in some of these areas. In fact, I talked a little bit about that with Patrick Smith on that first part of the interview, and we talk about it a bunch in the second part of the interview, as well as we get a little bit more political in that second part, which is why I broke it up into two. So again, a reminder, if you're not subscribed, definitely hit the subscribe button or follow, because I will be releasing part two of that interview later this week, and you'll get a heads up if you're subscribed. So let me pull down the banner. We're looking at Ethereum. Ethereum had just a gigantic ripoff of this news. And this is where, when I see things like this happen within the investment world, this just doesn't make sense. It really does not. I know a lot of people think that this kind of fundamentally changes the environment in which, say, Ethereum or crypto exists. But it really doesn't. I think a lot of people are assuming that there's all this money on the sideline that was just waiting for a officially sanctioned way to own Bitcoin or owned Ethereum, or that there were certain account types like IRAs and 401ks and things like that that couldn't access crypto, and now they'll be able to because there's now an ETF for Bitcoin and an ETF for Ethereum. I don't buy it. I really don't. When there's investment money to be made, the money will flow, and it doesn't require some kind of special investment vehicle to be blessed by regulatory bodies. Okay. When there's money to be made somewhere, money flows there. All right. And it's been flowing to crypto for a long time. Do I think that this, rally is going to immediately fail? No, I don't think so. I think there was a lot of hot money. And again, I think there continues to be a lot of hot money involved in crypto right now. I think there was a lot of hot money that flew in and a lot of, speculative trading, which is on a lot of these major cryptos and a lot of these major blockchains that are out there, the more notable ones. That's the vast majority of the transactions that are happening right now. It's all speculation based off of the valuation of the crypto. I find it very hard to believe that, overnight Ethereum's, application ecosphere got much better, 13-20% better over, what is this move? This move is, it is, I mean, I'm not even talking in terms of market capitalization. I'm just talking in terms of like percentage, but like the initial move was on the order of like 16 to 20%. I mean, it was a massive move higher, and it pulled the entire crypto industry with it, right? So we have a bit of red today because Bitcoin is giving back some of the gains from last night, but yesterday just everything was up. I mean, Solana, Avalanche, I mean, tons of different cryptos were just going to the freaking moon. I mean, Solana and Avalanche last night were up 10, 12, 14%, like just ridiculous amounts. And you saw a lot of this movement strictly based off of this news on Ethereum. And it's like, again, I find it very hard to believe that this is anything linked to fundamentals. It's all speculations, all gambling. This is not like, I haven't had anyone that I've seen or read an article where they've been like, well, now that the Ethereum ETF seems like a reality, we estimate that this amount of money will flow in. And this amount of money that's flowing in, the reason why it's flowing in is because Ethereum will do X, Y, and Z. A lot of times they say this amount of money will flow in, and then that's where the story ends. Well, who gives a shit about that? Right? I mean, way back when there was a bunch of tulips and there was tons of money in the Netherlands flowing into tulips. Okay. But what do tulips do besides look really nice? Right. Well, you never seem to get to that part of the story when it comes to this. And so it's why I really think that, look, crypto will be an investment, a place to be invested for a long time. I mean, it's a revolutionary technology. It will change the way that a lot of industries work. Okay. And make them work better, assuming that Wall Street and the government doesn't fuck it up. Right? Which they will try their damnedest to, believe me. All right. But from that standpoint, crypto will be investable for a long time. I can't see this being an investable asset right now. I just can't. I have some, but I've been buying small pieces all along. I can't see this being, 10, 15, 20% of someone's portfolio. Not right now, not as it's presently constituted. There's absolutely nothing that connects the dots of what the price of the crypto coin is versus what you're buying. Right? You're buying a coin that's worth this. Well, what does it do? Well, who cares? It's worth this. That's the entire industry right now, which also leads me to believe that within this next financial crisis, you're going to see crypto collapse. This bubble will pop in a very dramatic way. And what will arise from the ashes will be what the crypto industry looks like in the future. And it will be a much healthier industry for it. The other reason why I say that this is uninvestable right now is beyond like a couple of names, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and some of the larger primary blockchains that are out there. There are so many other cryptos that are just complete scams. And the level of scam is going higher and higher. And the federal authorities are using that as an excuse to regulate and basically neuter crypto from what it was. Again, watch that video with Patrick Smith, the first part of the interview, because I mean, we start to get into it. We don't get into it too far, but I definitely want to get into it with some other people in the future. I would love to get Aaron Day on and talk about this, because there is just an abomination growing within crypto. And it is the federal government's influence as well as Wall Street's. But so from that standpoint, the amount of fraud, I mean, like, just think back to like the movie The Big Short, right? And Michael Burry being like, there's always indicators, right? Like the level of fraud goes up when there's a bubble. Okay. Well, there's a huge amount of freaking fraud right now. Tons of rug pulls, tons of shit coins, tons of meme coins, people that just develop a coin, it runs up to a 10, $100 million market cap, and then they just skip town and the money's gone, right? Just look at meme stocks, look at, a lot of these pump and dump schemes that are happening right now. The level of fraud right now is absolutely ridiculous. Okay. And it's because dumb money is gambling, it's reaching for return because of the fact that they think that investing is something different than what it really is. And what made me think about this was I'm going to pull the screen share down. I'm going to reshare and I'm going to pull up. This is this interview's from 6 months ago. It's not one I did, unfortunately. Maybe I'll be able to have as big a show in the future. Not likely, but so this is an interview that Tom Bilyeu did with I believe his name is Morgan Housel about basically what makes people successful, right? Specifically from an investment standpoint. And I have yet to read it. I will order it and read same as ever. In fact, I want to do a number of kind of like book reviews on this channel as well as some additional content, some like short form, really concentrated kind of like investment knowledge base, right? But in this interview, essentially what comes up and what a lot of people don't hear very often because they're not really attracted to it is the message that investment, like investing your money, be fucking boring. Shouldn't be exciting. This like idea of this like, jet set and like, huge gains and 10x and 100x and like to the moon and all this other stuff. That's gambling, man. That's what you see in the casino. Progressive jackpot, $150,000, a quarter a spin, right? Buy this crypto for 25 cents. It'll make you 100 grand. That's the market right now. All of the philosophy and all the like really kind of like baseline foundational stuff of crypto, it's still there, but it's been completely contorted into this just I mean, it's like Spaceballs. It's like we'll see you in the sequel, The Search for More Money, right? Like this is the entire crypto industry right now. And it has absolutely nothing to do with use case. It has nothing to do with utility. It has nothing to do with like, I don't see very many people writing or getting, or at the very least having their message amplified when they say, so-and-so blockchain got this application that's developed off the top of it. We anticipate the market share of this application in this industry will take on this amount over this period of time. No one's talking about that. Everyone's talking about like the new crypto that just got added to CoinGecko and that is now tradable on Coinbase. That's what they're talking about, right? They're talking about like whether the logo looks cool. There's not a lot of people in Normieville that are talking with any kind of level of educated understanding of what they're buying. They have no clue. I would liken it to, ignorant people buying variable rate mortgages on homes they can't afford. They're gambling. It would not surprise me if the run-up in credit card debt coincides with people literally using credit cards or taking cash advances to buy crypto, right? Well, shit, Bitcoin's going to the moon. It's going to be $1 million a coin. I might as well max my credit card, buy Bitcoin, and then I'll be able to pay all my debt off. I'll be rich. The billionaires will be poor because they're going to inflate all their money down to zero, and I'll be rich. That's the message I see happening right now. It's really freaking scary. And, yes, like you should celebrate a good update in the market, right? When you've been consistent, and this is something that's also really important. Consistency is more important than almost anything when it comes to investment. You have to be consistent. If you're here and you're there and you're here and you're there and you're there and you're there and you're there, you're never going to get anywhere. Or if you do, it's just complete dumb luck. It's not based off of some kind of logical process that you use to get there. And everyone's logical process is different because everyone's investment profile is different. My investment profile is different than yours and your neighbors and your neighbors and your neighbors, right? Like everyone is different in terms of what they're looking to get out of it, what their risk tolerance is, how much time and energy they're willing to dedicate to it, whether or not they actually have any desire to create a side hustle or be an entrepreneur or anything like that. And at the end of the day, they also talk in that video on Tom Bilio's show. I believe it's called Impact Theory. They talk about how there are these kind of like gurus, these influencers, and they get all of the attention because what they're doing is they're doing the same thing that's happening in crypto right now. 10x your money, make all this. I have the 3 steps that you have to take in order to be successful within your investment career and build wealth and all this other stuff. Okay. I put out a lot of blogs and things like that that have steps and they have processes. But at the end of the day, I want everyone to understand that my voice should not be the only one that you listen to. I hope that you listen to it, but I also hope that you're listening to other voices that are out there as well. Because again, you have a unique investment profile. You have a unique life story. You have unique goals compared to pretty much everyone else on the planet. And so to condescend to think, like one of these influencers, to condescend to think that they have the magic bullet, right? The 5 steps that every single person could take to be successful and feel fulfilled and happy in terms of like their investment and their investment journey, right? Like they're wrong. It's completely wrong. I mean, for the most part, I'm telling you my perspective because I'm telling you the way that I'm approaching things. Some of these things you might say that sounds good, that resonates with me. Like I'm kind of that mindset. And other things you might be like, that's completely wrong for me, or I think he's completely wrong. That's perfectly fine. I probably am. Right? But from that standpoint, I can't for the life of me look at the crypto market right now and just the stock market in general. I mean, like I can't look at what's happening within the stock market and pull like look at what happens in the stock market right now. We're having like a flattish kind of day, but these kind of returns, man, like this, like just vertical moves in the stock market. That's not. Are you feeling like our economy has gone like this? Has our economy since like let's see, since October of last year, has our economy, the real economy, gone like that? Has things gotten dramatically better and more productive and we're doing more stuff and more amazing things and all this other stuff? No, at best we've stagnated. All this is just hype gambling bullshit. It's part of the reason why I don't advocate that people get involved in the casino in the first place, right? Or at the very least, I'm not going to facilitate that. If you would like to with a piece of your portfolio, that's fine. I'm not the person to follow to figure that out. Okay. I know what a lot of the standard talking heads out there will tell you about being involved in the casino, but I'm not going to repeat that because from my standpoint, I think that most of the people that benefit from this process are people that want to use you and control you. Now, that may or may not be true. There may only be a small portion of the people that this process benefits that have that mindset. But at the same time, I'm not going to be that guy. But at the same time, I don't want to be that guy. Yeah, like I've looked at silver the last couple of days and I've been happier than to use an old aphorism. Like I've been happier than a pig in shit the last couple of days because of what silver's doing. But that's more vindication than anything. It's not me like dunking on anyone. I'm not sitting here being like, oh, like, oh, you said silver was a crappy investment. Like, how you like me now? No, I'm just I'm cheering on the fact that I actually had the consistency and the conviction to stick with it and it's playing out. Right. And yeah, probably a little bit of excitement. But once that excitement ebbs away, it's no longer like I'm not chasing the next high. That's the difference between an investor and a gambler. When you have one of these moments where silver moves up like this, you get excited. But the next step in that, emotional journey needs to be, okay, do I need to take some away or is my investment premise still in play? If it's still operating, it's still working, then you just keep enjoying the ride. But after you get that excitement, the next step is like, okay, it's almost like the fear, right? The fear should set in to be like, when do I pull the trigger and take some profit? That's what an investor will do. An investor will be very contrarian in their mindset. When one of their investments is going up, they will torture the details to be like, am I still right? Am I still right? Am I still right? Am I still right? There are other people out there that have been making a lot of money in things like silver and gold and Bitcoin, and they don't have that mindset. They're cheering it on to try and get that price higher, right? They're cheerleading the entire way. I don't see very many of them being like, all right, where's my exit point? And that's what I find is very dangerous about kind of the Bitcoin maximalist mindset, that it can't go anywhere but up. That's really scary. That's not investment. It's really not. It's like trying to win the lottery, right? But you hold your lottery ticket and everyone else holds their lottery ticket, and how much you're going to win goes up over time, right? And goes down and goes up and goes down, and you're still holding that ticket, and you have to determine when to cash it in, right? But a lot of people are telling you, well, don't cash it in because you could win the $2 billion. So you should keep holding it regardless of what the price does. Well, what they don't tell you is only one or two people actually win the $2 billion. Everyone else loses because the more numbers that get added, right? Like the further that you get along in the process, one or a couple of them might not come up as yours and you might lose. And that person that holds to the very end, it's entirely possible that the $2 billion prize money is already gone. It's already left. It's not even there anymore. But no one wants to tell you that story because they want you to stay in it, right? Like they want this kind of camaraderie and the socialization, like the social aspect to it, right? But really all along, what people should be asking themselves is, okay, when does it make sense to at least book some profit, turn this into, something else, or just put it into cash? I mean, the other aspect that you have here is such a philosophical break from the other investment, other investment opportunities that are out there, that it's like it's nothing but Bitcoin. Everything else is going to zero. Just Bitcoin. Bitcoin will be the only thing that has any value. The moment that you take on that mindset, you're never going to book a profit, which means you could become a billionaire and then you could become a thousandaire. And even if they become a thousandaire, they'll still be singing the praises and thinking that eventually it'll go back up to a billion or 2 billion or 5 billion or 10 billion. It's really worrying. And, I see these movements like what happened yesterday in the market, and it's like exciting. And, traders are making a lot of money and there's like a ton of like fervor and everything like that. But I'll remind you, a couple of months ago, I actually shared a video from Alex Becker. And Alex Becker has an extremely, he has a very extremely realistic viewpoint. He believes that some of these cryptos are going to 10x and they're going to make people a lot of money. But he also is, understandably, he's saying like it's basically gambling. You're shooting your shot, right? And so if you're someone who has obligations, you have a home and a mortgage, you have a family, you have all these other things, I should hope that you're not leveraging your entire future on one bet. Because if you are, you're gambling. If every single day you're checking Bitcoin and like, oh, it went up 2, oh, it went down 3, oh, it went up 5. Dude, get out. Okay. On something like this, something that's still relatively new, that no one truly knows the intrinsic value of it, there's no real fundamental reason to tie the value of the asset to something. Okay. For something like that, you should not be leveraging your entire future. For something like that, at best, you have a small portion of your portfolio because you could stand to lose it, right? Like my portfolio, if Bitcoin went to zero right now, okay, knock on wood that it doesn't. But if Bitcoin went to zero right now, I'd still be fine, right? And the point I try and make all the time is that if you're a maxi, like if Bitcoin does go to zero, like you're fucked. Really, if your bet doesn't pay off. For me, if Bitcoin goes to zero, I'm cool. And guess what? If it goes to $1 billion a coin, I'm cool too. Something else that came up in this interview on Tom Bilio's show was the idea that you don't have to outpace everyone. You don't have to compare yourself to everyone. You just have to get better yourself. And that includes your investment portfolio. Now, granted, there are certain things that you are competing with, such as inflation. But there's more than one way to compete with inflation. There's not just one optimal solution, right? But in terms of you comparing yourself to other people, your neighbors and how they live and all this other stuff, that's the road to misery. That's the road to being wealthy and being depressed about it. Because if you're always comparing yourself to people that have more than you, you'll forget how amazing that you have it. Right now, like in this moment, this is like if you've never read Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, like this is something that's very important to kind of, I find it important to include in my mindset. And it's a dark thought, but it's also a powerful thought, right? Marcus Aurelius used to say that you have to think of how vast the universe is and how small you are within it. But then you also have to think of the opposite end of it, how powerful you are within your little kind of sphere, right? And that juxtaposition gives you some reference. And so when I think about those things, what it also leads me to think about is like right this very moment, right? Like people are dying right this very moment. And right this very moment, people are having successes and celebrating amazing things. And someone just got married and someone just had a baby and all these other things, right? The full range of human experience is happening right now to other people. You don't have to compare yourself every single moment to the people that are having the ecstatic human experience. You also don't have to compare yourself every single moment to the people that are experiencing the worst loss and the worst of that life has to offer, right? You just have to understand where you're at right now and how do you improve things in the next moment, in the next day, in the next year. And so a lot of people are looking at these investments thinking that they have to hit a home run because everyone else is. You know, Joe Schmo, crypto billionaire, just bought a freaking Ferrari or whatever, or a Lambo. I need a Lambo too. No, you don't. A Lambo just gets you from A to B. The same way, 1999 Ford F-150 can get you from A to B. There are certain basics in life, and then beyond that, it's all luxuries, right? And so I think a lot of people become enamored with the luxury. That's what they want. They want the Lambo. How do I get the Lambo? Oh, well, if I just, leverage the house and bought ETH right here, I would have gotten the Lambo. Fuck that. If you have a little bit of ETH and you ran this up, great, fantastic. Don't lament it. Be like, great. What's your next question? Next question is, should I take any off the table? Well, what's your investment thesis? Is your thesis that this is just going to continue going up forever and ever and ever and ever? Well, it's probably unrealistic, but if that's your investment thesis, then more power to you. Maybe you're right. From my standpoint, when you make a decent sized gain in something, when your investment thesis plays out and rewards you with a nice size improvement in your net worth and your wealth, lock that shit in. And it's really worrisome that people think that locking it in means buying Bitcoin or Ethereum or one of these other cryptos. It's not what I'm talking about. Buy something boring. Buy some gold. This sounds like a sin, but hold some cash. There are periods of time when cash makes sense to be holding, right? Buy some gold, buy some silver. It should be boring, people. You shouldn't buy an investment and then be watching it like for the next 15 seconds. Like, did it go up? Did it go down? Like, who gives a shit? I bought my $50 or my $100 or whatever. I'll buy another $50 or $100 next month. Whatever it does, I really don't care. Except for the fact that I routinely have to check in and be like, okay, is my investment thesis still valid? All right. But it shouldn't be like one thing is your end all be all. You shouldn't be trying to shoot the moon on every single investment. Some investments just return 2, 3, 4% a year, and that's fine. On the thumbnail of this video, I got Warren Buffett. The guy does not beat the S&P 500 most years, and he's created a billion-dollar company. We don't need to talk about the fact that he's leveraged the power of government in his favor or the tax code or anything like that, right? Or we could talk about that. But at the same time, the fact still remains. The dude doesn't like try and beat the S&P 500 every year. That's not his investment thesis. There are tons of people that have become billionaires and stopped being billionaires in the time period that he's gone from being a thousandaire to becoming a billionaire. And actually, this is something also that was interesting that came up in that Tom Billio interview, is that most of Warren Buffett's like net worth has come after he turned 60 years old. Right? It's a marathon, man. And a lot of people will keep up with you for, and again, you shouldn't be really comparing yourself to them, but I mean, like in the pantheon of humanity, okay, a lot of people will keep up for a short period of time, especially during bull markets. During bull markets is freaking easy, especially if it's a bull crypto market. I just throw a dart at the dartboard and pick a crypto and buy $1,000 and people think you're a genius, right? It's the really tough times that really test you and determine whether or not you can remain consistent. Can you cut your expenses? This is something I've talked about a number of times on here. The solution to inflation, the solution to the economic problems that we have right now is people cutting back on what they're spending. The problem is they're not doing it voluntarily. They're being forced out. And so the people that continue to have some savings, the people that continue to have like a halfway decent job and they're able to kind of keep up with things, at least keep their head above water, they're still spending on things that really are still technically luxuries. They haven't broken it down to the very basics just yet. That would be the solution. But again, that would take a voluntary move toward what people would perceive as less wealth, less luxury, a less quality of life. And why is that? It's because they're comparing themselves to their neighbor. It's not because they're comparing themselves to how their life was, 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. I can remember when I was a little kid, my life is freaking luxury compared to the way that my life was when I grew up in the 80s and 90s. And by the way, we weren't like poor. We were paycheck to paycheck, but we weren't poor. I had a house. I mean, hell, I went to a private school until I was in fourth grade. My parents freaking worked their ass off to make sure that I could go to a private school until I was in fourth grade. My life now and my kids' lives compared to the way my life was in the 80s and 90s doesn't even compare, right? Who gives a shit about what my neighbor did or does, right? I don't have to keep up with them. I just have to know that my life is improving, my decision making is improving, my happiness is improving, or my contentment, right? Like that's the yardstick. Be better than who you are. Be better tomorrow than who you are today. And that applies in your investment life. If you do that, and if you try and take yourself and step back from all this comparative bullshit that happens within our culture, you will be much happier. And I might sound like I'm like preaching. Dude, I battle with this every damn day. I see other people that have nicer cars, they have nicer houses. They walk into a place, they have a wad of freaking cash in their pocket. They can pay for anything that they want, right? It's very easy to be like, man, I have to do something to be like that person and be where they're at. But don't take stock of where they're at. Take stock of where you are today versus where you were yesterday. If things are improving for you, that's what's important. And you should make your decision from that standpoint. All right. A lot of people will fool themselves into thinking that they're making investment decisions from that standpoint. And unfortunately, they're lying to themselves. But again, you don't really find that out until times get tough. Unfortunately, we're coming into those times if we're not already in them. All right, I'm going to do a quick roundabout. That was like a 30-minute rant, dude. This is like, I must be in one hell of a mood today as I sip my Starbucks $5 freaking drink. All right. In the markets today, like I said, the casino's a little bit flat. Still waiting for Nvidia to come out. So that's going to be a big market moving event. There's also some economic numbers that are being weighted on. But again, your investment thesis also shouldn't change like based off of a single day of investment returns or a single economic number. These things happen in the aggregate. Okay. So you have to come up with some kind of concept of what things look like in the aggregate. There shouldn't just be one thing that all of a sudden turns the tide and makes you commit a lot of money or pull a lot of money off the table. It should be a slow plotting process. It should be methodical. The market today, like I said, is relatively flat, or at least the casino is. The real market, we know the real economy isn't doing great, but the casino is all right. There's some downward movement in, say, like, small caps and things like that, but not really a huge mover kind of day. Dollar's relatively flat today. Actually, interestingly enough, spiked overnight along with crypto. So that just goes to show you there's people in every single marketplace that are impulsive. Excuse me. Oil's down today. Oil's continuing to show some weakness here. And but then again, it's moving sideways. We'll see whether or not this is just kind of like a consolidation before it heads lower, or whether or not we get some kind of updraft. Still remains my theory that the Federal Reserve indicating or signaling that they're going to cut rates, you'll see a big move higher in oil. Gasoline's weaker today as well. Lumber's catching a little bit of a bid. So lumber's been absolutely destroyed recently. Had a nice little pop based off of some supply stuff, and now it's trying to hold its own up here. We'll see whether or not it can continue to advance that buying pressure. I mean, it was due for some kind of correction because this is just a massacre, right? We'll continue to watch this moving forward. What else do I got? I'll show you gold and silver. They're down a little bit. I would love to see silver. And I don't know if this is an opinion that most people would like to see or whatnot, but I would like to see silver revisit $30. It sounds strange, right? Shouldn't I be cheering it on? Silver directly to 35. No, I'm realistic. I want $30 was a significant psychological level. I'm not sure it has very much validity in terms of the fundamentals, but psychologically, $30 is a significant level. Once it pierces through 30, you're going to have a lot of people that are going to try and take profits here. Okay. Again, based off their own investment thesis or just based off of an arbitrary number, it broke through 30. Now I'm going to take some profit and lock it in, whatever. I would actually like to see this thing just kind of like migrate down to $30 an ounce, retest it, hold it, consolidate, and move higher from there. That would be a healthy move for silver. What I don't want to see is silver like trade along for a little while and then just immediately lose $30 again, because then that's going to make this move in silver look like just kind of hot money flooding in to try and like ride this momentum wave and not really be, people that are buying silver for the long run. Right. Yeah. If it retests 30, holds and moves higher, that would be a time where I would be like, okay, my value averaging is going to step back up again, right? I'm not really value averaging that much. I'm still putting a little bit every single month towards silver, but not nearly as much as I used to. And I'm waiting to see how this price action plays out. But if it does take a move back towards 30 and holds this level, that's a really strong sign if it can continue to move higher. Like if it breaks back above like $32.50 after holding 30, that's a big move. If it just continues to move, I'm just happy sitting pat and still putting a little bit every single month toward it, but not necessarily doubling down or leveraging extra amount every month toward it. All right, what else are we looking at? Commodities, everything's relatively muted today. So not really going to talk too much more about that. Let's check in fixed income really quickly. High yield bonds are relatively flat. Tried to pop through this resistance and then pulled back down below it. So you continuing to see it kind of like dance around this level. U.S. Treasuries, people are buying a little bit of the U.S. Treasuries. We still see that big inversion. There's still an inversion between the 2-year and 10-year. It's back to 4/10. Every single day that this inversion exists, there's damage happening within the financial industry. People don't understand this concept. The longer that the long end of the curve has a lower interest rate than the short end of the curve, the more damage is done every single day. Because that means that the future interest income that these banks are able to create from this just mountain of debt that they've issued and are issuing becomes less and less profitable. That also means that as less profit is coming in, these banks are leveraged. They participate in fractional reserve banking. I think the saying is, if every bank in the world, if everyone tried to draw all their money out, they'd be short like 10x, maybe even 100x, right? All the cash in the world, all the assets in the world have been leveraged up that much by the banks. Every single day that this inversion exists is another day that there's damage done in the banking sector and in the financial sector. And when it finally comes undone is when you realize what the damage is. And it's been a long time, and it's been a deep inversion. So, follow through with your own conclusion. All right, let's sum up. We started talking about crypto in the beginning. Let's sum up by looking at crypto really quickly again here and finish up. So ETH still popped. It's up today, 3.3%. It's why the total crypto market cap is actually down only a little bit compared to, say, Bitcoin, that's down over 2%. Total crypto market cap took a little bit of a step back. It's down about 0.75% today. Bitcoin rallied maybe like 5 to 7%. It's now pulled back about 2% from that high. So it's coming back. I would like to see Bitcoin, again, in that kind of like mantra of break through a level, come back, retest it to show that it's actually valid, and then move higher. I would like to see Bitcoin come back and retest 69,000. It's come close. Came back to like 69.7, just below 70K. I would like to see it come back and retest 69 because that was basically the significant level that it broke through. And so if it can come back and retest that 69,000 and move higher, again, another good sign. All right. I am worried if we zoom out here, I am super worried that any move that comes off of this pattern right here, if we do see like a nice pop off of this, that it is going to be completely unsustainable. That it'll be a lot of fast money. It'll be kind of like the last hurrah. It'll be, the person pushing their chips into the middle of the poker game because they think that they can't lose, right? And I'm worried that will be the case. If we don't have a significant period of consolidation here before we move higher, a lot of this could just be overexuberance, right? Irrational overexuberance and FOMO and everything like that. And if this continues higher and higher and higher, and we get up into this, 75, 80, 90, 100K per Bitcoin, I'm afraid that as fast as it goes up, it will come back down once the financial system starts to actually show the cracks. Once, the life support comes off from the Federal Reserve, or once the life support, they're not going to take the life support off. Once the life support proves to be not enough to keep the patient alive. Once that happens, we'll see what Bitcoin's really made of. But if you see a significant move here, along with, coinciding with the NASDAQ move higher and the S&P move higher, and semiconductors and NVIDIA and all this other stuff. I mean, that's the other thing to watch. Watch when does NVIDIA report? I forget if it's Wednesday, Thursday afternoon. When NVIDIA reports, I'll call attention to it. If you see Bitcoin and like crypto and everything like that pop off of the NVIDIA results, okay, there's your sign. It's not a safe haven asset. It's not a way of, hedging against the demise of the dollar. It's basically a bet on high beta, tech stock kind of investment theses. Is that the word? The plural of thesis? Is that theses? That's what's playing out. All right. So we'll continue to watch that one. The rest of the crypto space, like I said, is down. What's holding up the crypto space right now is Ethereum, with that continued kind of momentum off of that individual news. Like I said, last night, Solana and Avalanche were pretty strong. They continue. Solana actually is given back a little bit. Dude, this isn't a trading channel, but what did I say yesterday at noon? I was like, Solana's running. You should buy a little bit of Avalanche. Might be up 10 or 12%. But again, that's not my investment style. That's not what I'm here for. Avalanche has run significantly. We'll see if it continues to run along with Solana and Ethereum. And we'll see whether or not Bitcoin continues to move with everything or whether or not it stalls while everything else rallies. What else have we got going? Everything else is kind of like minorly up, minorly down. Something of note, Helium. Again, Helium is the crypto I get rewarded for. Actually, the mobile token, which is just below it, is what I get rewarded, but I can readily convert into Helium for my cell phone. Helium is up like 6%. That was popping earlier, as well as IoT. So now, interestingly enough, I just installed, this is the Sorchain miner. I just installed this Demo miner into my car, and Demo and Helium actually announced, as well as another organization, just announced a collaboration where the Demo miner, so the Demo miner uses Bluetooth connection to your cell phone to transmit data, but what it can also do is it can access the IoT nodes that are on the Helium network. So I actually have a Bobcat miner, which is a node on this IoT network, this Internet of Things network that's decentralized that Helium runs. And they had apparently deprioritized it for a while. And now all of a sudden they're running a special where that Demo miner on people's cars can connect to the IoT nodes. And those IoT nodes can then be used to transmit data. And so they're using it as this combined kind of like build out. So maybe they might actually be reprioritizing the IoT network that's out there. And so some of these Bobcat miners might become more profitable again in the future. Hopefully that's true because I got one and I have some passive income coming in now from, let's see, let me just do the rundown on the list. I earn IoT, I earn mobile, I earn Demo, DIMO. I'm earning Helium tokens. What else am I earning? There's like another one I'm missing here. But so, and I just got, and I showed this to you yesterday, I just got my Fry weather miner that's going to go up on the roof. I haven't put it up there because there's obviously more considerations that go with installing something on your roof than plugging something in the car level. So with that, I'm going to continue talking about some of these, passive investments or passive income, specifically crypto mining projects that I'm working on, and what the tokens are doing. And actually, to follow up on, a story from last week, I had just recently started my account with Kinesis Money. And so the KAU and KAG cryptos have been doing pretty good too, because silver and gold have been doing pretty good. What's super awesome is each one of these KAU cryptos is based off of actual gold. They don't mint a new one unless actual gold is brought into their vaults. So you actually have a crypto that is backed by gold and silver. What I haven't asked, probably should have asked this, is whether or not it's readily transactable where you could actually take a KAU crypto and then, assuming that you helped mint the gold that's in the vault, get your gold back. So I'll have to figure that out. So if you actually mint by sending gold to Kinesis, whether or not you could then exchange back your, KAU or KAG for gold or silver, physical gold or silver, that they have in custodianship in their vaults. So, all right, with that, that's all I really got for today. It's Tuesday. It's kind of like a quietish kind of day. Again, we're waiting for more news later on in the week as far as like financial numbers and NVIDIA and this other stuff. So, I'll continue to keep tabs on it, but I want to say thank you very much for all of you that made it to the end of the video here. Hopefully I brought you some value. I'm going to be back here tomorrow at noon Eastern, and we're going to continue talking about some of the stuff that's happened in the market, as well as investment and the whole 9 yards. So a reminder, if you're not subbed to the Substack, sub to anarchistinvestor.substack.com. On June 3rd, I am giving away 4 annual paid memberships to the Substack, and I'm just starting up the model portfolio, as well as a couple of the other kind of like more fun portfolios, like the microcap crypto portfolio that I'm going to be working towards. So, or working on building. So yeah, you'll be able to get access to that as well if you end up winning, and you can get in for free on the giveaway by being a subscriber over at the Substack. So with that, that's all I really have for today. I hope everyone has an absolutely fantastic afternoon. I appreciate every single one of you. And with that, I'm out. Peace.
Stuck in a system that just ain't right. Gonna tear it down, gonna start a fight. Anarchy and numbers is my game. I'm the investor with no shame. Greed and corruption, that's the name of the game they play. It's all a shame. I won't play by their rules, I won't comply. Anarchy's the way. It's time to fly. I burn down the walls and break the chains, shatter the illusions, expose their games. The stock market's a stage. I'll steal the show with my rebellious spirit. Watch me grow. Burn down the walls and break the chains, shatter the illusions, expose their games. The stock market's a stage. I'll steal the show with my rebellion.